Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday announced that Hamas militants had executed 6 hostages whose bodies were recovered from Gaza. They had been shot in the back of the head. Stating this at a press conference, Netanyahu rejected the notion that Israel should respond with concessions in Gaza ceasefire talks. The killing of the 6 hostages announced by Israeli officials on Sunday has triggered an outpouring of grief in Israel as well as anger at the government for not clinching a deal that would have secured a safe release of the hostages. Israel's health ministry said on Sunday that the 6 hostages were shot at close range shortly before their bodies were recovered from the Gaza Strip. As thousands of protesters gathered in Tel Aviv on Monday for a second consecutive day of demonstrations criticizing the government, Netanyahu sought forgiveness for not being able to save them but also appealed for unity. He called on the international community to apply more pressure on Hamas to end the war triggered by the militants' unprecedented October 7th attack on southern Israel. We say yes, they say no all the time, but they also murdered these people and now we need maximum pressure on Hamas, he said. Hamas has to make the concessions. Netanyahu also insisted on Monday that Israeli forces must retain control over the Philadelphia corridor along the Egypt-Gaza border, which has emerged as a primary sticking point in talks mediated by the United States, Egypt and Qatar. On the other hand, Hamas is demanding a complete Israeli withdrawal from the area as part of the stalled talks. The achievement of the war's objectives goes through the Philadelphia corridor. Control of the Philadelphia axis guarantees that the hostages will not be smuggled out of Gaza, Netanyahu said. Of 251 people taken hostage during the October 7th attack, 97 remain in Gaza, including 33 the Israeli military says are dead. By the way, Hamas said it had given instructions on how to manage captives if Israeli forces close in on their positions. A spokesperson for the Palestinian militant group's armed wing, Hamas, told Reuters that the orders were issued months ago. Hamas official Abu Ubaida said the instructions were given to the Mujahideen tasked with guarding the prisoners after Israel rescued 4 of its citizens who were taken during the October 7th Hamas attacks from the Nusayrat refugee camp in Gaza. The rescue operation, which took place in June, resulted in the deaths of at least 274 Palestinians, according to Gazan health officials. Ubaida further blamed the Israeli government for the deaths of the 6 hostages, accusing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of pursuing military operations instead of negotiations. US President Joe Biden also hit out at Netanyahu, saying he was not doing enough to secure a ceasefire and hostage deal. The US, along with mediators from Qatar and Egypt, has been working for months to broker an agreement that would pause the fighting in Gaza and facilitate the release of the remaining hostages. At the press conference on Monday, Netanyahu rejected calls for a ceasefire, reiterating that the 11-month conflict in Gaza will only end once Hamas is eradicated. Meanwhile, Britain will immediately suspend 30 of its 350 arms export licenses with Israel because there is a risk such equipment might be used to commit serious violations of international humanitarian law, Foreign Minister David Lammy said on Monday. Lammy said the decision to suspend the licenses did not amount to a blanket ban or an arms embargo, but only involved those that could be used in the conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Palestinian enclave of Gaza. Soon after the Labour Party won an election in July, Lammy said he would update a review on arms sales to Britain's ally Israel to ensure these complied with international law. Unlike the US, Britain's government does not give arms directly to Israel but rather issues licenses for companies to sell weapons, with input from lawyers on whether they complied with international law.
Now, to conclude, it seems that until Netanyahu keeps at bay his ego and vengeance that are resulting in collateral damages, and Hamas also stop provoking Israel, this ongoing war will not end and innocent lives cannot be saved.
Let's hope that both reach a consensus to strike a ceasefire deal and bring sustainable peace in the area. It is here India's current policy becomes notable and laudable. Despite consistent provocation from Pak-based terrorists and China, India has patiently refrained from going for any war with these hostile neighbors.